Dennis, welcome to Let's Talk Quality. Thanks for joining. How you doing?
Good. Thanks, Hamish. I've followed you for a few years now, so I'm excited. I feel like I finally made it to be on your show. So extremely exciting day for me. Despite the weather in the States and the Northeast, this was something I was looking forward to for the entire month.
I'm looking forward to it as well. And yeah, it's a long time coming. So um, keen to get into some stuff today. I guess let's start with give us the elevator pitch, just a 30-second who you are, what your role is, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So Dennis Rodman, I'm currently the Senior Director at Intellia Therapeutics. My focus is on quality management systems and digital compliance. Prior to joining Intellia, I spent 13 years at BMS, various roles from facilities and engineering, validation, technical services. And then I moved into quality in 2015. Chemistry degree from Lafayette College in Easton, Pennsylvania. Started my career in the laboratory. It took me about 12 months to realize that is not what I wanted to do the rest of my life. And I pivoted out to more of manufacturing operations, technical services, and now quality.
So what did you think you were, when you go back to those years, when you're looking back now, what do you think you were naturally good at?
So it's a good question, right? Because I think as a child, nobody says, oh, I want to be in quality. I wanted to be an astronaut, a doctor, or in the NBA. I liked science. I liked chemistry. I majored in that in college. I think sometimes when you're young, you don't think to yourself, wow, I'm going to be doing this the next 40 years until you get your first job. And then I got my first job. And to be honest, I was just bored. I was running assays every day. I liked people interaction. I liked customer facing things. And I wanted to move more into those type of roles. So consulted for 10 years in the technical world, validation, preventive maintenance, metrology, and I was very customer facing. I liked that. I always liked leadership. I liked managing projects. I liked managing teams. And I think that plays more to my role today.
And what would you, if you had to sort of summarize your skill set in terms of, what you are good at, where you excel, what you like, enjoy doing, how would you summarize it?
Yeah, I tell people I know a little bit about everything, but I'm not an expert in anything.
Okay.
So I think what I'm really good at is high level managing people down into the granularity. So I like to look at the high level picture, how things connect. I'm not a taskmaster. I'm not someone who just focuses on one area. So I think that plays a little bit to what I do today, where I have multiple projects. I'm working with supply chain. I'm working with development sometimes. I'm working with manufacturing operations, and I'm mobilizing projects around them to deliver and execute. And I like teams. I like managing teams, like I said. And I think that's really my strength. I think if you told me, hey, focus on one thing all day, I would not be good at that.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. Do you see yourself as an out and out quality professional in that sense?
So no, I tell people all the time, I think I'm an operations person who moved into quality. But I think today, I think the way we're breaking down silos, moving data, I think you need to have that mindset. I think everything is operations. I like to generate value to the business. So it's funny. The reason I went into quality in the first place was because people that I worked with, colleagues always thought quality is non-value add. And I always felt like quality should be value add. And I think that's what I try to do, work with the business, not be an off ramp to their process, but building quality into their process and show them why the data we generate can be valuable. Don't worry about how long it takes to document a deviation. Why don't we try to figure out a way to avoid the deviation? And I think those are things in quality I bring, but it is more of an operational mindset than maybe a quality mindset where you're kind of dropping a hammer on people about compliance.
Yeah. And can you tell us a bit about high level, and you don't need to go into detail about the company and stuff, but just, I suppose, what your role is now? Like, what have you been brought in to help achieve?
Yeah, so I think, Intellia, none of this is proprietary. On the verge of launching a commercial product, hoping to file the BLA in the middle of this year. So I think really what I was brought into is improve the processes, improve the systems around that initiative. So again, I think when you work for a Cambridge biotech, there's an evolution you go through. You probably start out of academia, you have a technology, you build that technology, proof of concept, and now you're ready to go through that late phase clinical stage and then into the commercial stage. So Intellia has a great technology. They've been fortunate enough to drive into late phase and now commercial. But along with that comes operations systems, compliance. And I think that those are the areas they wanted to build up.
Okay, so let's maybe talk about that. What do you think, real high level, like what are the basic building blocks of making systems and processes more efficient as you go into that late stage journey?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing today with technology and artificial intelligence is how you manage data. I think the days of Excel spreadsheets and SharePoints and people having data on desktops isn't helping an organization. So I think when you build systems, it becomes what are our inputs, what are our outputs, what is that data being used for, how can we utilize that data more effectively, how can we make quicker decisions. And I think that's right now through the early development phase, going into operations and commercialization. I think what you find is that AI is driving those discussions because AI has that ability to quickly find the trend. But to quickly find that trend or provide an analysis, it needs access to all of your data. So siloed nature of systems, I think, is going away. And and that's going to be a change for the industry. In the past, supply chain had their systems, quality had their systems, and regulatory had their systems. All those systems need to talk together now.
Can we talk a bit about the systems side of things? When you first stepped into quality systems, global quality systems, what do you feel the biggest differences are when you're using a QMS and actually designing a QMS? So are there any particular things that sort of have caught you off guard or you've learned over the years and the differences between using and actually designing a QMS?
Yeah, I think one of the things is putting all life cycles into one QMS, right? So GLP, GCP, and GMP. That in the past that wasn't being done as much. I think now people want all their data in one place, and that's challenging because there's a phase appropriateness to that. So there's processes in each area, how you find synergies in those processes, how you then deploy those processes into a system, how you run metrics, KPIs out of the system to suffice what each area is looking for. I think that's a challenge. I think 10, 15 years ago, it was R&D had a quality system, GCP had a quality system, GMP had a quality system. They may actually have different systems that support their processes. I think this unified approach is something that the industry is driving at now because I just think people want access to their data immediately. Even the idea of these quality management reviews every quarter, that's going away. That's kind of like reading the newspaper. Nobody reads the newspaper anymore. They go online and say, what happened in the last 30 seconds? With dashboards and live streaming, you can do that today. And I think that's where the industry's moving.
So when you walk into a messy sort of process improvement role, and how do you decide what needs to be fixed with the people? How do you prioritize what needs a system, what needs to be automated, what needs to just be cleared up? Talk us
Yeah.
through that.
I mean, the quick answer is you map out a process and you look at what they're doing. The room will tell you what's necessary and what's not necessary. I think I've seen steps in a process where if you get the answers, we always have done it that way, right? You're going to question that versus, you know, per this reg, we need this here, right? In the process. I think that's a good answer. Or, we had a kappa 15 years ago, and to answer the kappa, we decided to put this in, right? Well, okay. I think the question then, did you answer that kappa correctly? Is this still relevant today? Right. So I think those are the type of things I look for. What is being driven by compliance in this process and what is driven by a nice to have? We've always done it this way. Maybe we put this in for the wrong reason and it doesn't need to be there anymore. And I think that's the analysis you really want to look at. I think people, when you make it so cumbersome and difficult, people now try to avoid the processes and avoid the systems. And now you have a whole different type of issue. User adoption to me is really important in my space. So while I'm compliance, while I'm systems, you could buy the fanciest car in the world. If you don't know how to start it, what good is it? And if I can't get people inside the car and wanting to drive it, then to me, I failed at my role because I spent a lot of money and it's not generating any return on investment or value to the company.
So let's talk a bit about the people side of things then, because that seems like it's an important part of getting buy-in from the rest of your stakeholders. Like it's a broad topic, and I talk about it a lot on this podcast in terms of quality leadership. But what are the starting points of getting your stakeholders on board, getting buy-in from them, getting them to, as you say, use the thing to start with?
Yeah, what I like to do the first thing is you're always going to have people who are excited about change. Those people are rare. Most people don't like change. They like their routine. They want to do what they do. They know what they do. But you will find people in companies who are influencers, who are disruptors, who like the idea of moving with technology, change. I think you want to partner with them immediately and you want to find out, okay, who's what I call like on the team. Then I think you're going to have people who are naturally resistant, right? That no matter what you're telling them and what you wanted to improve, their fear, they're paralyzed by fear that and the change. Then I think you have a ton of people in the middle, right? So I think what you try to do is swing those people into the middle onto your side by using the influencers rather than the resistors, because those people can float either way. And then I think there is, resistors you just have to work with. I think typically there's power in numbers. So if 7 out of 10 and 8 out of 10 people are in the system and liking it, they're probably going to go along with it reluctantly eventually. What I've seen is a lot of times in a company, resistors take over the room. And if resistors take over the room, it makes the user adoption process 10 times harder because now you're getting into almost fighting a war every day with the change. So think their strategy around it. I think how you engage with your stakeholders. And another thing I think is really important is everyone learns a little bit different and everyone has to be communicated to a little bit different. I think there's one, if you only are communicating in one way, I think you're losing opportunity.
There's so many quality systems that companies can use now, and there's going to be more and more advancements in how these systems adopt and integrate, and new ones coming into the market. I speak to a lot of VPs of quality, heads of quality at startups who might not be using an electronic system at this stage, and they might not need to, but it's obviously front of mind. How does that, and there's obviously phase appropriate conversations to be had, and depending on where you're at in the journey, but how does that conversation go? What sort of questions need to be asked to figure out which system to use at the point of the journey that your company is at?
Yeah, so I think having a strategy is really important. I think there's really talented salespeople out there, and really talented salespeople can almost sell you anything. So I think when you go in a room with a vendor, understanding what you're trying to accomplish is really important. There's very fancy systems out there that have carrying costs with them. And I tell, I've consulted with people people always ask me the same question: What's the best QMS?" And right from a system standpoint, and my
Yeah,
answer is, "What are you trying to do?"
yeah,
And I think understanding what you're trying to do, there's some really basic solutions out there that for smaller companies and are great solutions. And then there's bigger companies out there, and I'm not going to give the names, but everyone knows the names, and they're going to sell you fancy solutions. But with there's carrying costs with that. I said it's kind of like buying a house that's huge, and then you get the heating bill and the landscaping bill and all the maintenance on it, and you're like, whoa, I didn't know I needed to pay for all of this.
mm,
So understanding your cash flow, how much money you want to spend, how much money you plan to invest over the next couple years, what you're really trying to do, where you want to put your company is really important. And then you're dictating what you buy, not having someone come in a room and dictate to you, hey, this is fancy, buy it. Look, if you go to buy a new car and you go into the showroom and you have no clue what you want to buy, a salesperson
yeah.
is going to put you in something that you probably didn't need.
Could you give us a flavor of the types of answers that you get when you ask that question, and who do you ask that question of what are you trying to achieve?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is, how big are you? Do you want to integrate all your platforms together? If you're not going to look, if you're saying no, I just want to document quality events. There's systems that'll just document quality events, and then how much money do you want to spend on configuration? How much money do you want to spend on enhancing the system? If you say no, we want to stay static for 3 years and we don't want to configure, we just want an out of the box solution that we can drop in and start using in 3 weeks. I'm going to recommend different systems for you. If you have millions of dollars you want to spend and you want to integrate to your clinical organization and your supply chain organization, and this is a holistic transformation and you want to spend millions of dollars, then I'm going to recommend some of the more high end systems that are going to be able to do that for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the first question I always ask people is, how much money do you have? Right? Because, I joke around, hey, I want to go out for steaks every night until I don't have money to buy the steak. And then now all of a sudden, I can't do that, so you don't have steaks every night. I think so like everything else, it's driven on money and then return on investment on that money. Especially now where the industry's been so tight. You see layoffs. People don't have the money maybe they had 10 years ago. So I think it's important to be intentional and smart with the money you do have.
I suppose going into, I guess, back to the people side of the stakeholder relationship, you've acted as a sort of an IT business partner as well, right? In your roles that you've had in some
Mhm.
regard. And I suppose the role of a quality leader, quality systems leader is to collaborate with IT. Do you think that that role is becoming more and more important with the adoption of digital tools and technologies, AI? How do you see that sort of relationship with IT and quality at the moment?
I think they're integrating much more because I think where AI is different than traditional software, right? Traditional software had a purpose. You drop it on a server, you put it in the cloud, however you're doing it. You train the people, but that software has a function, you validated it's static. I think there's an engineering aspect to AI where how do we train it? What are the guardrails around it? How do we monitor it? Um, a lot of times IT or the vendors don't understand your process, and then the business side doesn't understand how the algorithms or AI work. It's really important now to have people in between that are kind of making that connection. I think what'll wind up happening is um, IT professionals are going to become better at understanding business and understanding the process. And I think people in digital roles are going to have to be better at understanding IT. I think the most successful people in the next 3 to 5 years are going to be the people who understand both sides. Maybe they're not experts in both sides, but they understand how to communicate with both sides efficiently to deliver. There's a lot of studies right now that AI is not delivering return on investment that was anticipated. A lot of that is just because it's not being engineered, it's not being built into the process in the right way because people are treating it as a TV. I go buy the TV, I hang it on the wall, now I'm watching TV tonight. It's not that
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah. It's down to the leadership, isn't it? And how the leaders are adopting it and
Right.
their communication around the vision for AI. And like you say, there's so many tools out there, it can become quite noisy,
And
but it's not going
you're
to move
here
the needle.
Yeah, you're hearing companies even, we're at corporate objective time where like the corporate objective is like implement AI. And I
Yeah.
mean, what does that mean? To me, a corporate objective is we have this process. We want to make this process more efficient. We want to cut lead time by 20% by implementing AI solutions. So I
Yeah.
think the idea of setting smart goals and objectives, not being smart like intelligent, smart, I
That's how,
mean,
yeah.
measurable, right? Attainable. I think that idea is really important for AI because if you don't know what it's there to do, you're not using it the correct way.
Hmm.
And honestly, a lot of people still use AI almost like Google. You have to build it into your processes now to get that full efficiency. It's not a Google search. It's smarter than that.
Let's talk a bit about digital transformation. It's obviously a word that's been around for a long time now, but it feels like it's becoming more prominent in the quality world anyway. In biotech, in your experience, what does good actually look like in practice when it comes to digital transformation?
Yeah, so I think the key to digital transformation is two sides, right? The technical side and the people side. And I think a lot of times people look at an IT project or a technology project as a technology project and they ignore the people side of it. I think I learned that the hard way probably when in my previous role to Intellia, where early on maybe we weren't accounting for that people side as much. And then we built out our organization to have really a work stream and almost a mini department that was handling people change management. And I think when you have large organizations, that's really important because if it's just a technological solution and it's not adopted, it's of no use to you. So that I think the word transformation is the biggest piece of that. And what goes into a transformation, it's kind of changing the way people think, changing the culture of your company. It's not digital. So respect both words. I guess that would be my advice. Yes, digital, but the transformation side, are my people ready to do this? Do they have
Yeah.
the aptitude to do this? who are my influencers, who are my resistors, and understanding that, and why am I resistors. Understanding that is extremely important, because even when you recruit, what do I want to recruit into the company? Maybe I need more people who are technologically savvy. And that's where we have to focus on. So it goes into an HR component also.
Are there any warning signs, early warning signs that might suggest that a program or transformation project is going to fail?
I think you could survey teams and see, try to get a feel for just how much they use technology in their daily life, right? What are things that concerns them about technology? What are things that excites them about technology? If those answers come back and they're very rigid, right? 50% of your company is still using a flip phone. Okay, you're going to have a bigger digital transformation effort.
Yeah.
And demographics plays into that. One of the things I've said to organizations is, you have to respect all demographics, right? So that 22 to 35-year-old, I mean, my son could swipe an iPad before he
Yeah.
could speak,
Yeah.
right? So I think there's generational gaps too from an HR standpoint. But again, I think some of, I call them older people, more experienced people, come with a different perspective on leadership and process and a discipline that works with the technology also. So can I incorporate, and am I diverse in my demographics as a company to capitalize on all these different people? Some companies are, some companies aren't. And I think that's something from a challenge to HR, which goes into the digital transformation mindset, right? How can I get people to complement each other?
Do you think biotech is generally slow to adopt and make decisions in these areas?
So I think biotech tends to be more innovative. I think if you're in the development space and trying to drive something, drive a new technology, I think they tend to be more innovative. I think big pharma is slow. I think big pharma is, it's like a big ship that has trouble changing direction. One of the reasons I came to Intellia was I wanted to be in a smaller environment where I could kind of be more impactful, influence change. I think bigger companies, levels of management, getting approval, how long it takes to launch a project, things like that is very slow. AI changes literally week by week, right? Like you'll see Gemini come out with something, and then the next week ChatGPT says this is better, and then Claude comes out with something and says, no, I'm better at this. So I think the speed element and how quickly it's developing is enormous, right?
And then from a cultural shift, you mentioned this sort of before, when you're trying to create a cultural shift from sort of my data to enterprise data standpoint, are there any habits that you're trying to kill, habits that you're trying to encourage, or behaviors that you're trying to encourage?
Yeah, so I think, look, people are territorial, I think, by nature. This is right, my car, my house, my job, my data. I think sharing data and speaking with other organizations on how they use your data and how this how they plan to use your data, how you want to move it is really important. So the idea of silos and this is mine, the possessive nature, and I think it sounds crazy to people, but if you're in a job 5 to 10 years and you do things a certain way and you, this is my data, this is how we log it, this is how we track it, and now you're asking those people to think in different terms, it's a challenge. So I think I look at data now as kind of a passenger going on a plane. You have to kind of get it through security, get it on the plane, fly the plane, land the plane, get that passenger to their cab. And it has to be seamless, right? Like you don't ask a passenger, parachute off the plane, land on a ship. We're going to now take you right. It's seamless. So I think that's how data flows and data maps have to be. But with that comes data dictionaries, understanding how data interacts with each other and getting people to understand, no, I get that you use it this way, but supply chain, you're using that data element to mean this, but understand regulatory needs it and quality needs it, and they're going to use it in this fashion. So you can't revise it like 3 days after you lock it or things like that, which is just, I think, process discipline.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, you strike me, like you said at the start, you're someone that's uh, good at a lot of different things, and you certainly strike. You're in your role. You're bringing in both the technical side of things, the digital side of things, and the people and the leadership side of things. For someone who's junior in their career now and maybe wants to move into quality systems, digital quality, that line of work, what can they be doing right now to really accelerate their career?
Be versatile. right? That's the biggest thing. Learn as much as you can. If you have opportunities for rotations, working with other people, talking with other people, sitting in meetings, shadowing, listening, learn the entire business. Don't just say, I'm in quality, learn the entire business. And then I think the biggest thing is don't, I know this is weird to say, but don't necessarily be afraid of failure when you're young. I think I learned probably the most from failure, things I didn't do well, but I think be reflective on that. You know, when something fails, understand why it failed and understand how I could have done it better. But I think if you don't fail, everyone's going to fail at points in their career. If you don't fail young, I don't know when you fail. I've had teams um and people, you know, people have stage fright. They're sometimes afraid to present. And I would put them in meetings and they're like, I'm nervous to present. And I said, it's 8 people. You know, if you mess this up, you only messed it up in front of 8 people. Only 8 people get to make fun of you. If you start to get promoted and now you are in a town hall with 1,000 people and you mess it up, now a
Yeah.
thousand people get to go home and make fun of
Yeah.
you. And people laugh when I say that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you have to try things, you have to do things. So if you're young,
Yeah.
don't be afraid. I guess that would
Yeah.
be my advice. Don't be afraid and just be aggressive. I think one of the things too, don't always sit and wait for the next opportunity. There's, you know, life's full of a lot of people who sit at a bus stop and wait for a bus that never comes. So what I say is like, try to go hail the cab, jump in front of the road and get your ride.
Yeah, I like it. What are you excited about then, looking ahead for this year? Obviously
Um,
in your role and stuff. What's exciting you?
I think just where technology is going, I think you get these moments in history, right? Where, you know, the internet, email, industrial revolution, like these segments in time where everything changes. I think we're in the midst of one of those. And I think that's really exciting because I think what the future looks like right now, nobody knows. So in a way, experience doesn't matter as much because everything may be changing. So I think it's competitive. I think for people maybe who have struggled, they have opportunities they didn't have. For people who have done really well, they need to be on guard that things are changing and they have to pivot their idea. And I just think that's fun. I think disruption is, people think I'm crazy. I think disruption's fun. So I think we're on the verge of disruption. And I shouldn't even say on the verge. I think it's here. You're seeing it already. And I think it's going to continue for the next 3 to 5 years. And what that looks like, I think is exciting. It should excite everyone.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for the industry to accelerate. People, new jobs will come up. You know, we're seeing already people jobs coming up with involvement of AI and digital in quality roles, which, you know, even 2 3 years ago you wouldn't have seen those types of titles, that an AI quality person or digital quality, and things like that. Those types of
No,
roles weren't around.
no, and I think you said it, you know, well, like disruption provides opportunity for people. So I think right now, if you're sitting at home and saying, I have no opportunities, I think you're crazy. I think everyone has an opportunity now. It's about what you do today and tomorrow.
Mm.
I think it's more about what you do today and tomorrow than it was about what you did yesterday. If you're just living off a resume, you may struggle. If you're looking forward, thinking about how do I impact the future, I think you're going to do really well.
Are you positive? Do you feel, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how positive, optimistic do you feel about, I suppose, the wider pharma and biotech industry as we stand today? It's been a tough road last couple of years, as well documented. But how do you see things?
Yeah, I think we've come out of a rough 3 years. So I think you're going to see, I think you're seeing it already this year, more investment in biotech. I think you're seeing biotech companies do well in the stock market and things like that. So I'm really excited about biotech. I think biotech's on the verge of a boom. I think gene editing, different things that, you know, you're seeing worked on is exciting not only for the industry, but, you know, exciting to patients. And I think that's really what we're supposed to be doing, right? How do we make things better for patients? And I think you're seeing great technology out there. I think the science and the development in this country is incredible. I think it's just about operationalizing it, bringing it to market, and getting it to as many patients as possible.
I agree. I think, I think all the signs are there that for a more positive 2026, which I think the industry needs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everything's a wave, right? Like
it
you go
is.
down, you know, I always tell people if you're down, the good thing about that is you'll probably be up, but if you're up, you may be down, right? So
Right. It's so true.
everything is cyclical. So I think you're coming into a cycle that's very positive.
Good. Couple of quick fire questions then to round off the discussion, Dennis. If you were to rewind back time and, you know, you're having a conversation with your younger self, what advice would you give a younger Dennis at the start of his career?
Well, that one's easy. Be less emotional, less
Okay.
territorial. Don't be so opinionated. Listen to everyone's opinion. I think that's probably with everyone a maturity level, but I think I was difficult younger where I'm more now open to different ideas, different opinions, more inclusive where when I was young it was like, no, this is the way I want to do it.
Yeah. I think that's self-development, isn't it?
Yeah.
And self-awareness that you naturally pick up over the course of your career. Who's been the biggest inspiration to you in your career, either personally or professionally?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know if there's been one person. I've had some really good mentors, but in different areas, right? Like, I think my father's been influential in my career, but then there's people I've worked with who have been influential in my career too. So I think it would be unfair to give one person. There's someone I work with right now, Jim Averbach, who's a little bit older than me, a consultant. He's been extremely influential in my career and how I think about things. So I'll give him a shout out here as a mentor. But I think a lot of different people, depending on where you are, what you're working on, and things like that.
Final question: which one piece of advice would you give to future aspiring quality leaders?
That's a good question. I think understand the business and understand the value you bring to the business. So compliance is value, but understand why compliance is valuable to the business. So people don't look at you as an obstructionist, they look at you as value add. And I think you have to find your niche in that to make sure that people understand why quality is important.
Nice, Dennis. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for giving me your time, and it's an exciting time for you and your career. So I'm wishing you all the best for this year.
Hamish, this was great. I appreciate it. And I think what you do with this podcast is great work. I think people love podcasts. So I always enjoy it and privileged to be on this with you.
My absolute pleasure to have you on. And if people wanted to sort of reach out, get hold of you, is LinkedIn generally the best way?
Yeah, LinkedIn is the best way. If you have questions, I love to network. If you just want to bounce something off me or you have always open to it. So yeah, please reach out.
Dennis, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Hamish.